What's going on, everyone? So I want to start by saying that the Lakers absolutely need to make some moves, right? Ideally, we need at least four guys, right? I think we need a clear-cut starting center, clear-cut backup center. I think we need two athletic perimeter players that can be versatile and defend and do the dirty work and make the hustle plays. Obviously, if you can go and grab more than that, perfect. But whether you address that through free agency, through trades, whatever the outcome is, Lakers need to at least, like I said, get those four guys, whether that's Clint Capella and Brook Lopez as your centers, and then you're going and getting DeAnthony Melton, and then, making a small trade, and then kind of getting into the season, and then getting to kind of the trade deadline to maybe make a bigger splash, whatever, okay? But you have to, minimum, in my opinion, get four guys. Starting center, backup center, and then two, ideally if you get a starting level guy, but at least two guys off the bench that can give you that athleticism, knock down the three ball with some level of consistency, and just give you some athleticism and speed out on the perimeter. But I also think it's worth noting, kind of talking about, is that the Lakers' just natural progression, regardless, assuming that they get a center at least, right? Like, let's say that they get Clint Capella as their starting center. A center by itself would do wonders for this team. That doesn't mean that they are a bona fide locked-in contender, right? Like, I'm not saying that, but I'm saying just a center alone changes things for this team, makes the Lakers a lot better, right? But this team is going to be good regardless, right? You're going to have a, re-injuvenated, transformed, motivated Luka Doncic. LeBron James, we saw last year, looked rejuvenated in a lot of ways and motivated. I think you're going to have him because he's going to be like, I have Luka now, and Luka's going to be doing his thing, right? Austin Reeves, I'm not against trading him, but I just don't think the Lakers are going to trade him. But Austin Reeves, we know in the regular season, he's going to give you, 25 and 5, right? And he's going to win you some games when Luka's out or LeBron's out, right? Like I made a whole video like a month or so ago now about like the arguments to keep Austin Reeves. I know most of you know that I am not against trading Austin Reeves at all, but I do think that there are arguments to keeping Austin Reeves, right? Luka, look, he went to a conference finals and an NBA finals with, non-defensive guys alongside him and Jalen Brunson, long before Jalen Brunson was the Knicks' Jalen Brunson, and he also went to the NBA finals with Kyrie Irving. Now, Austin Reeves obviously isn't Kyrie Irving, but this Austin Reeves is better than that Jalen Brunson was, right? So, is it possible? Sure. But those teams also were better equipped around those two to be able to get to a conference finals and an NBA finals, right? But also the biggest argument with keeping Austin Reeves is that Austin Reeves is going to give you, 75 to all 82 games potentially. And that's good, especially when you have LeBron James, who's going to be 41, right? You're going to, Luka usually misses some games each year. So there's going to be times where you're going to need guys to step up and go win you games. And that's what Austin Reeves can provide. But you're also going to have just a full training camp, a full offseason, full preseason of Luka, LeBron, and Austin Reeves building chemistry, working together, right? They kind of were just thrown into this mix on the fly, had to kind of figure it out. Now these threes are going to actually be able to, hopefully, right? Fingers crossed. Sometimes things just don't work out, right? But you would imagine that those three are going to be able to build better chemistry, get a better grasp and understanding, right? Hopefully Austin Reeves is working on his three-point shooting and his three-point shot, so that way when he is playing off ball, he can knock down with a level of consistency. But you're going to get the natural progression of those three guys just getting better and improving naturally, building better chemistry, building better relationships, right? That alone, I think, will elevate the Lakers, right? I think the Lakers, even like as it stands, no pun intended, I do think that the Lakers will at least be a top 5 team, if not a top 3 team, just as it is, if they get a center, right? You have to get a center, right? If they went and just got a Clint Capella and a Jericho Sims, I think the Lakers are, at least a top 3, at worst a top 5 seed, right? Bare minimum. I mean, again, they were a top 3 seed last year, right? And now you're going to have a full training camp, full preseason, a motivated Luka all season long, right? Like, you're going to have a better JJ Redick, and I'll touch on that here in a moment, right? Like, you're just going to naturally be better with another year of chemistry rather than Here's Luka with like a clunky roster that has all these holes all over the place. Now, obviously, if you get a center, that doesn't solve all your holes by itself, right? But again, being a top 3 seed in the Western Conference even doesn't necessarily mean that they are one of the top 3 to 5 teams in all of basketball to win an NBA championship, right? That doesn't mean that they are good enough to win an NBA championship. Now, I wouldn't rule out a motivated, healthy Luka, a motivated, healthy LeBron. And the biggest thing is if Austin Reeves shows up, then you might have a chance. If Austin Reeves is what he was in the regular season in that playoff series against Minnesota, that Minnesota series might have been a very different series. Very different. Even despite not having a center and all those things, right? But when Austin Reeves is basically, half of what he was, if that, right? Like, and he has his struggles and you're looking for him to be great. And then LeBron had his struggles early on. And then Luka, kind of was hot and cold at times, right? It's just that results in what you saw with the Minnesota Timberwolves. I even said before we even knew we were playing Minnesota, it's on live streams, it's on videos, all of that. I said the team that I didn't want to play was Minnesota. I was willing to play Denver. I was any other team but Minnesota. And the reason I didn't like the idea of playing Minnesota is because they were so physical, right? So imposing. I just didn't like the matchup in round 1. I didn't mind playing them, and I even said I wouldn't mind playing them in round 2 when we've kind of worked out all of our holes, all of our flaws, right? Austin Reeves hopefully starts hitting his stride going in round 2. Luka starts settling in and gets more comfortable. LeBron James, you saw as that first round progressed, he started getting better and better, right? Now you've kind of worked out your lack of center position, and you've worked out some of those things in the first round. I wanted to play a team like the Warriors in the first round because we just match up better. Right? And it's easier for our team. It's not as taxing physically, right? So, but again, even despite all of that, Lakers were still in most of those games and had a chance. They had too many hurdles that they could overcome. Well, now you're going to have, again, a lot of those things kind of figured out just naturally. You're going to have JJ Redick, who's not going to be as stubborn, who's going to have another year of coaching under his belt, he's only going to improve and get more and more comfortable, right? Learn from your mistakes. The guy is a maniac, so he was looking at the tape, seeing what he did wrong. Some things were obvious, some things, I'm sure not so obvious that he's going to continue to grow and improve. So you're going to have the growth of your head coach, right? You're going to have the growth of just your players. You're going to have another year of chemistry, and you're going to have a full, season under your belt of LeBron, Luka, and Austin Reeves. On top of Luka Doncic being motivated and hopefully healthy the entire season, because we've seen him in the offseason do what he needs to do, look great, and as the season progresses, he starts to kind of get back into that form that we saw last year, right? I think this year, at least, he will stay in peak top position. So again, there are things naturally that are going to make the Lakers a lot better. And I'd never count out Luka, LeBron in a postseason, especially if they're healthy and they're good to go, right? Again, there were circumstances last season. You give me a healthy, just better conditioned, motivated Luka Doncic, right? With LeBron James healthy, motivated. That Minnesota series, just with those two alone, that Minnesota series might have been very different, right? Because you saw Luka kind of get gassed at times. He'd have like an amazing first quarter and, go give you like 25 in the first, and then he'd finish the game with like 35, and you're like, dude, what happened? And it's just like you saw as the game progressed, it was like he was getting gassed and worn out and tired, right? But if he's conditioned and he's better and he's, slimmed down, right? Like he should be able to maintain more, right? So that might have been a different series. But again, Lakers have to get things done. This isn't me saying, oh, don't worry about trades or don't whatever, right? Like, but what it does do is it means that Lakers don't have to panic, right? Like I still stand by patience, and a no trade is better than a bad trade. If you have to go give up, like if your only option is you have to trade Dalton Connect, your 2031 first round pick, Rui Hachimura, and whatever, Maxi Kleba to go get Nick Claxton, I'm good, right? I'd rather you just go sign Clint Capella or a Brook Lopez and a Jericho Sims or whatever and just wait. Right? Go like I said, take a flyer on a DeAnthony Melton, whatever, and just wait. Once you get closer to the trade deadline, Lakers assets start getting more and more valuable. Why? Because you have a bunch of expiring contracts. And we've seen that that's an appreciated asset. So the closer we get to the trade deadline, the more valuable those will come. I would love for us to go trade for Nick Claxton now. I would love for us to get our roster set and intact right now. I'd love if we go trade for a Nick Claxton and a Herb Jones, and it's like, boom, there we go. Got our starting three, got our starting center, right? Let's get to work, right? Go sign a DeAnthony Melton, maybe bring in a Brook Lopez as your backup. Can you go find that other, flyer guy, right? That you can take a flyer on, sure. Maybe you can go get a Gary Trent Jr. also. Boom, now you got some bench depth. Now you got, your starters locked in. I'd love for that to happen, right? But one, I don't want to see the Lakers panic. And two, I just think you're going to have this natural progression, this natural, just Lakers are going to be good. I'm not worried about them being good next year. They're going to be good next year. Why? Because, again, you're going to have Luka and LeBron James on your roster, right? Lakers were the 3 seed last year. I don't think that that's going to change, right? Unless there's some drastic, some teams make these drastic moves. But again, I don't think that any team is going to go that drastic. And any of the teams that may do that are all teams that are in that mix anyway. So I think Lakers will be a playoff team, bare minimum, right? And I think that they'll be in the mix. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. Best question you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. So we enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one.